Hey folks, and welcome back to the Culture Jack podcast. I don't know how that was kind of a cool move. I've never done that one before. Welcome Jack to the Culture Back podcast. Welcome back to the Culture Jacked podcast. I'm your host Dustin, and on the Culture Jack podcast, what we do here is we talk about video games, we talk about movies, television shows, comic book movies specifically, and that kind of genre, the superhero stuff, the fantastical stuff, the sci-fi stuff. And so if that interests you, hit subscribe, stick around. We're going to talk about that sort of stuff. But today, specifically, we are talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie. And like has become the most popular review format on the internet, first we talk about it in kind of a general sense. We talk about what we thought, kind of what the vibe was, what our feelings were, how the characters were, where it kind of rates in the greater MCU lore, and then we talk specifically about spoilers and things like that. And so I'm gonna try and break it down in that way. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was I think, a satisfying conclusion to the Guardians trilogy, if that is indeed what they decide to do. If they decide to end it here, it will be a satisfying conclusion with enough threads that are able to be pulled on in the future. So if you're worried that it's over, could be, but I imagine if the actors, the directors, the producers, the people that were involved in the making of this movie are offered enough money, if the if Star Lord's Milano pulled up pulled up to their house and started dropping dollar bills on their rooftop, a la Nope, I think they'd come back for another one. At least the option is there. I was very worried. If you saw my video on Friday, I was very worried that Rocket was going to die. Um, I can't tell you how that worry was, whether it was allayed or whether it came to fruition. I can't say that as of yet. Is that a spoiler? Just me saying that in that way that I did? I didn't think he was going to die on Friday. Um, Go see the movie. Go see the movie if you unless you're like waiting, you want to get through this so you can get to that, so I can spoil it for you a little bit and talk about what did happen. The characters were very good. The High Evolutionary was very good. His power set, again, I'm not going to say what it was, but I'm noticing a trend in these movies. And like I said before, Phase 4 is not ruined. A lot of people shit on Phase 4 and they say it's so bad. They say it's falling apart. It's not consistent in either the quality or the lore making that it's doing. It's not as cohesive as the other phases were, and I disagree. I think there's a very good reason why it doesn't seem cohesive, and that's because all of it was never supposed to happen. All of Phase 4 was never supposed to happen. And so if we carry on that through line through this movie, that's kind of an interesting thing. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. None of this was supposed to happen. So what was supposed to happen? Talk about that in a minute. All your favorite players are back. The Drax and Mantis. If you saw the Guardians Christmas special, if you saw Guardians 2 on Ego's planet, where they first picked up Mantis, they are and continue to be one of my favorite parts of these movies. And I think Drax has incredible comic timing, or Batista has incredible comic timing, and there were some of those moments, like in number two, I think it was number two, where he said, I'm moving so slowly that my movements can't be detected, and I'm practically invisible. There's some of that kind of shit in this one. An expansion of some of the characters, obviously, as you saw in the trailers, really big focus on Rocket's backstory, Rocket's history. Rocket's entanglement with the main antagonist. So a lot of that stuff. Um, what else? What else can I say about this without saying spoilers? I teared up pretty good in the middle and cry. I'm a man. I'm a grown man. Come on, I'm not gonna cry for a bunch of computer animated rockets or Groot's because he's computer animated as well. Groot was back. You saw him in the trailers. Swole Groot is a sight to behold. Um, two after credit scenes if you have not yet seen the movie. So be sure to stick around for both of those. I would say probably they don't really have like a lot of weight when it comes to like moving on, carrying on in the MCU. I mean, there's a little bit. There's like some factoids. Poltier's character, I think that's his name, uh, Adam Warlock. Pretty cool introduction. And again, I don't know a lot about the character. And typically, what I've done in the past is if I didn't know a lot about the character, I'd go on the wiki and I would expose myself. I'd go expose myself. I'd go expose myself to the character on the wiki, become ultra familiar with them. You know, look at what their greatest feats in the comics were. And I know Adam Warlock played a significant role in like the Infinity Saga in the comics, but he didn't in Infinity War because he hadn't been introduced yet. Um, I don't know if the characterization of Adam Warlock in this was uh, whether it synced up with the characterization of him from the comics. If it did, what an interesting character. What an interesting character. And if it didn't, what an interesting acting choice or directing choice for that character to act in this one. Another cute little creature that popped up that's going to be made into an action figure, or you know, you know how Disney likes to do, and they like to do their Grogu's and their Groots and the like. Okay, I'm gonna move into spoiler territory. I'm gonna put a little warning right here, so you know that if you haven't seen the movie, go see it, go check it out. Good continuing Marvel lore. There weren't a lot of people in my theater that I went to, and I went on opening night. I think it's opening night. I went on Friday. Um, I know that they do like early showings, early releases. Wednesdays, Thursdays are becoming a big thing. Um, before I go on, Super Mario Brothers still crushing it. Okay, spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you're getting them in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Um, well, now that I've said it, I don't know what to say. I like Adam Warlock. I like that he was pulled out of his cocoon early, and I really enjoyed the fact that uh, this movie was about Rocket's past and Rocket's creation at the hands of the High Evolutionary, uh, who was an excellent antagonist, by the way. But not only that, he was also the creator of the Sovereign, the Golden People from number 2, which it blows my mind because it's like I don't know. They were so about themselves. They were up their own asses, and here they are being yet just another creation of this high evolutionary character. And I thought they, at least self-described, were the perfect beings, but not according to the high evolutionary. He, of course, was carrying on and uh, continuing to create worlds, which is cool. And he's like an atheist guy. He's like, God doesn't exist. That's why I have to do this. I have to create these things. What's going on over there? My cat's in my tires. Get out of there, cat. What the heck are you doing? Um, so anyway, that was really cool. I enjoyed the interaction between Rocket and Floor and Teefs and Lila. And the part that got me teary eyed is I'm sure, not an accident. I'm sure it's the part that got you teary eyed as well. It's when Rocket's on his deathbed and they've just gotten the chip out of the dude's head. They're uploading the files, and god dang, he's in that white room down the white hallway. Lila comes, and Teefs is there, and Floor is there, and she says, "You were right about the sky being forever," and he's like, "Can I come with you?" And she's like, "Yes, you can come with us." And he flatlines on the gurney, and oh man, if Rocket died, ooh, that was rough. That was rough. James Gunn did a great job in that one. Um, Bradley Cooper, I guess, did fine. He voice acted it well. He did a good like baby Rocket too, which was nice. And then Lila said, "It's not time," and she said, "You're a good raccoon or something." He said, "I'm not a raccoon," and then back into his body he went. Uh, so that got me a little teary. My mouth fell agape when Rocket had thought that he escaped with Lila and Teefs and Fleur, and they were all murdered. Um, but it fell agape when Lila was shot. I thought there was going to be a reunion with Lila based on the trailers, and that was just an assumption that I made on my part. So, you know, shame on me, I guess. Mantis and Drax, hilarious moments. When they were when they were getting ready. Drax, he got a motorcycle, and he was gonna take off to go, see what Star Lord and Groot and Nebula were up to. And he got on the motorcycle and he said, "Get on, we'll get on this motorcycle and I'll drive you back to the ship." And the ship's just like right behind him. She's like, "You'll drive me back to the ship that's right there?" And he's like, "Yes." And then they get to the high evolutionary ship, it's taking off, and Nebula's like, Drax, Drax, Mantis, get in the ship and bring it here. And he's like, "We're not at the ship." And she turns around, and Mantis is just, oh my gosh, it was so good. And he's laying down on that couch in those people's home. That was so funny. Yeah, and Batista said that he's not going to portray the character again. Gamora said she's not going to portray the character again. Gamora got a happy ending. Uh, I liked it. I liked that they didn't kill off any of my Guardians. It seems like a very not James Gunn thing to do. I fully expected one of them to die. I thought it was going to be Drax, because like I said on Friday, I don't think they were going to kill off Rocket, and they didn't, because that was too obvious, right? After they put out that trailer where they're all talking and they're all making up names for themselves, just in that one trailer, you got too emotionally attached, and so it felt like that was the obvious choice, and James Gunn wasn't going to do the obvious thing. What took me completely by surprise, because Chris Pratt in these interviews has been saying, I'll play Star Lord for as long as they'll have me. I really enjoy playing the character. So what did take me by surprise is when he went back on the exploding ship, the high evolutionary ship, as they were all trying to get the orphan children onto nowhere. When he went back and then jumped out and his face like bulged up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he's not a god anymore because Ego's dead, and that's where he got his power from. That's where he got his like superhero godlike power, was from Ego." And so I'm like, "Oh no, they're actually going to kill off Star-Lord." And you got me again, James Gunn. You got me thinking, "Oh, they're not going to kill off Star-Lord." And then they did, and then I was like, "He did it. He really freaking did it." And then he didn't. He didn't do it. Other characters. Oh yeah, Gamora. I'm happy that, well, Zoe Saldana said that she's not playing Gamora after this. This is Gamora's last run as well. Uh, I'm I'm pleased that they didn't kill her off, even though she was just like an alternate version of Gamora from the past. They also didn't go the cheap route and reunite her with Peter Quill, which was good. They gave her a new family, and they gave her a family with the Ravagers and Stallone, and that was cool. That was good. Oh, one of the after credit scenes. Now that we're in spoiler territory, you've seen the movie. You're here with me. We're discussing it. We're having a good time. What about Groot, man? What about the size of Groot? When they were all bullshitting and talking about the songs that they liked the best, and they said, "All right, it's time to go to work, get this herd of whatever things away from this village," and he knocks on the wood, and Groot gets up, and he's a goddamn giant, and he looks like he's got like a wooden crown on. Yeah, that was pretty sweet. I'm a big fan of Big Giant Groot. I hope if they don't make more Guardians of the Galaxy movies, if these are just kind of ancillary characters that show up from time to time, I really want to see Big Giant Groot. And uh, I haven't talked about it on this channel or on the broadcast, the Culture Jack podcast, but last year we had the Halloween special, which introduced us to, was it Swamp Thing? Is that the character? And I probably got him wrong. You'd probably be really mad at me, and I'm really sorry about it. But I mean, if that's the worst mistake I did make today, then at least my kids will still have been fed, and you know, I'll have treated my friends nice. But I'd love to see an interaction between a giant wooden Groot and a Swamp Thing. I still don't think we've got all of the. Oh, you know it would be great because uh, Evans and Downey are both gone. You know they pay him enough money. They'll be back. Um, they're gone, but Hemsworth is still dedicated to playing Thor for a little bit. It would be nice to see a reunion between Thor and Groot as well, because he's, this is my friend Tree, and he helped him make Stormbreaker. It's part of his arm became the Stormbreaker, and then also like it'd be cool if they met back up and Groot had fashioned himself his own axe that was bigger than Thor's, which would be a nice callback also to Endgame, where Captain America and Thor were wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker together. I think that'd be really cool. All that, please put it in. Yeah, so the after credit scenes, it looks like we've got a new Guardians team if they ever do want to bring it up again. We've got Groot, giant King Groot. We have Rocket the Raccoon. It looks like Craiglin, Astro the dog, and then also Adam Warlock. He's there. I like I said, I liked his character. They made him really stupid, but he was just born, pulled out of the cocoon a little bit too early, according to his mother, at least. But I like that he's a good guy now, I guess. I wonder if they're going to keep him as stupid. I know there was something where he had maybe the Mind Stone in his head, and I don't know what this is in the movie. Maybe it's just a thing. It's a wart. It's a blemish, I guess. So him, and then the final member was one of the children that were rescued by the team, which caught me off guard because I mean we didn't see it. Maybe they've got some kind of superpower, but right now, at the very least, the child has like extra stamina. He said they could go for a week without sleep. They only need to eat like 50 calories, or they only burn like 50 calories running for a week or something. I don't know. So there's something special about those children. Um, yeah. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, the organ facility uh, that looked like it was made out of flesh was absolutely disgusting. It was really gross. I didn't care for that, but also at the same time, I didn't care for the suits that the guards were wearing there. Nathan Fillion's cameo, I guess, was fine. I'm not like one of these diehard Nathan Fillion people, but I know you're out there, so if you see this, he was great. He was great. Don't worry about that. When Manus had one of the guards fall in love with Drax, she's like, "You're in love with him," and he's like, "You always do this to me." Oh shoot. Um, yeah, that was a really good movie. The new ship that they had was really cool. how it broke off into several pieces. That was pretty neat. The High Evolutionary's quest for perfection was pretty cool. I like how they made Rocket like more special than he already was, and like those are traits that were written into his character from the first Guardians, and they lasted throughout all of the Infinity Saga stuff, throughout all of the Guardians movies, and then kind of culminated with this. Yes, he is special, and he's special in a way that you is more than you might realize, because he has the ability to think, not just like they said, use rote memorization for his logic. So that was pretty cool. I like that they made Star Lord kind of, you know, a bum, especially at the beginning when he was drinking. He was having a hard time kind of coping with the fact that Gamora wasn't his Gamora. I thought they were gonna try and shoehorn a romantic thing in between him and Nebula, which I wouldn't have cared for. But the one throwaway line when he's talking about how black her eyes are, and she's like, "Yeah, you know, my dad Thanos gave me these when he tortured me." And then Star Lord, it said he'd return at the end in the second post credit scene where he went and met up with his grandpa. Well, he met up with his grandpa at the end. Then in the post credit scenes, he was eating cereal. Oh, and the newspaper. Look, you throw an Easter egg that obvious right in my face, I will notice it. There's not a lot that I will notice, but the Kevin Bacon abducted tell all on in the newspaper, that was kind of a cute little Easter egg there at the end as well. Craiglin he learned how to use the arrow. Oh, Astro the dog was a good dog. I want to go on the record as saying that. I want to, plant my flag in the sand and say that Astro the dog, you were a very good dog. You were a very good dog. That was sweet. That was sweet. Oh, one final note, and I probably should have said this at the beginning before I got into all these spoiler things. If you are thinking of taking your children to this movie, like I did, perhaps reconsider. Um, I had seen on the internet, on Facebook, that this movie, if you are sensitive to scenes of animal abuse or uh, hurt animals, maybe you should skip it, because there is some violence toward these cute little animals. And yeah, that was a little much for my daughter. Um, so yeah, if you're thinking about taking your kids, maybe I was telling her, okay, cover your eyes. They're going back to the lab again. No good stuff happens in that. No good stuff happens in that lab. And that's it. That's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Did you see the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 yet? If you have, what did you think of it? Do you think that they're going to do a new iteration, a new chapter of Volume 4 with the new Guardians cast, with the new Guardians team? Do you think that they are going to, rather than do that, put the new Guardians team in other movies? Do you feel like Star Lord, who's the only one that said that would return? Sometimes they do that at the end. They say the Avengers will return, Captain America will return. So instead of saying the Guardians will return, they said Star Lord specifically will return. So rather than making new volumes, do you think they're just going to inject them into other properties? And if you think that they're going to make some new volumes, do you feel like James Gunn will be invited back, one, and two, accept the invitation with all of his new jobs, all of his new duties, all of his new priorities over there at the head of the DCU with Peter Safran? What do you think? Do you think that's the case? I don't know. I don't know. I think he'd come back for another one. I think this is a guy that is going to bounce back and forth between these properties. He's got a good working relationship. He's already had his canceled moment and come back from it on the other end. now with these opportunities of both DC and Marvel. And I think he's going to keep on trucking. Anyway, that's it for this special episode of the Culture Jack podcast. Thank you for dropping by. I hope you've enjoyed. The cat's now out of the tires and taking a big fat shit. Thanks, darling. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know what you thought. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. New episodes of the Culture Jack podcast are coming to your streamer of choice here at the end of May. I can't remember what date I said it for, whether it was May the 19th or the week after that, but they're coming on Fridays here soon. So I'll see you then. Goodbye.